Hey, it's Les from the TV Dudes. This week, I'm chatting with actor Adam McArthur. You've heard him voice several of your favorite cartoons, from hit anime series Jujutsu Kaisen to comedy series Star vs. the Forces of Evil, or as Lee Char on Star Wars: The Clone Wars. We talk about all of that, his entrepreneurial ventures, and much more. Hope you enjoy. Hey,
Hey,
Adam.
Les.
Thanks so much for making
How
time
you
today.
doing?
I really appreciate it.
Of course. Yeah, happy to chat with you guys.
So in doing research and looking at your path to your career, I love that you've done so much voiceover work. I'm always interested to get to talk to folks who have done that side of acting, which is I feel like a different facet from stage or from screen. Uh, can you talk a little bit about when you were first taking acting classes, first booking Macy's ads and such, and starting to push onto that path? Was there something about voiceover work that particularly appealed to you, or was that just something that you went, oh, that's a thing?
Yeah, it was honestly kind of both. I mean, as I was learning about the different sort of facets of the industry that you could, make a career in and stuff like that, and a lot of the teachers that I had at the time also had really successful voiceover careers. It definitely appealed to me. I think one of the things that appealed to me about it was I had a background in improv, and for some reason it just felt like you could really play. You didn't have to worry about the camera or the stage or how big or how little necessarily, when you were doing VO. And so it just sort of appealed to the same part of my brain that really enjoyed improv. So it was nice to sort of find it almost right away from when I started taking classes and stuff.
Is there a difference in prep that you do as an actor? Do you feel like you get ready any differently for a voice or a VO role?
Yeah, it's interesting. It depends on the project. I'm on a project now called Jujutsu Kaisen. It's an anime, so cartoon originally from Japan that we're dubbing in English over here. And that genre of animation specifically has such a huge range in what's required from the actor. There's really, really subtle acting, and then there's massive, just like yelling. So I always try and make sure I warm up my voice before going into one of those sessions. And then actually, in regards to that genre as well, there's a lot of source material. So there's actually, like, this show is based on manga, which is Japanese comic books. And I make sure that I read ahead and get to know the character in print. And then I even watch the episodes subtitled to get a vibe for sort of what the animation feels like, and take all that prep into the booth with me. And then, for something like, I was on another show called Star versus the Forces of Evil on Disney Channel, which was an original Disney TV animation project. That was sort of different because it was harder prep. We were creating a character from scratch. So that was more about just being loose in the booth and being willing to be collaborative with the voice director and the creator of the show and the writers, and all working together to find the voice for a character like that. So it really depends. It's just kind of what's needed project by project.
What do you think was the toughest thing to get under your belt or get used to doing in doing that kind of work?
I am by nature a very energetic person. So the subtlety has been tough for me at times. And not from like an acting perspective per se, but more from the technical perspective, mic proximity, things like that. It's sort of, there's a lot of, it's like patting your head and rubbing your stomach. So you have to stay true to the character. You have to, your acting chops still have to be on point, but at the same time, you have to be very aware of the technical side of things. But everything is just practice. It's, muscle memory in a way. I've done martial arts my whole life, so I kind of always equate it to that stuff. It's about repetition. So nothing has been necessarily like really hard, but there have been challenges that have been fun to explore and conquer and, get better.
Muscle memory is a neat way to put it. I don't think I'd ever thought of it that way, but in stage productions, there's something very particular about not just being able to sing a Broadway song, but sing it while moving. And
Right.
and there, I can't do that dancing and keep my mouth shut. I certainly couldn't do it and belt it out for the back row. But there's something particular, I think, to learning to do it still. This is the distance from the mic. You won't pop, and so you'll sound right. And the guys in the booth are saying it's good. So don't go bouncing around the booth while you're being this bouncy cartoon character. I could see that being a tough thing to learn.
Yeah. It's figuring out how to embody that movement without actually moving. So still sounding like you're moving and, bringing that sort of buoyancy and that life to the character, but without, moving off mic, bumping into things, all that stuff.
In your bio, there was an entrepreneurial venture of yours that I thought was just really neat, Booth and Bus Co.
Yeah. Can
you talk a little bit about, is that a full-on old-school photo booth with the odd-smelling chemicals and all of that? Is it digital age? Can you talk a little bit about that venture?
Yeah, totally. So the Booth and Bus Company is we call it a photo booth and photo marketing company. I started it back in 2011. I essentially didn't want to have to rely on acting work to make a living. Thankfully, I've been able to make a living doing both. But the life of an artist, the saying "starving artist" is there for a reason. And I just didn't want to live that kind of life. So I decided to start this company. Essentially, we're a photo booth rental company. I didn't want to do what everyone else was sort of doing at the time. So I purchased a 1970 Volkswagen bus and retrofitted an old 50s TV with modern electronics in the interior so that people actually get in and take pictures. They print right there on the spot. So to answer your question, it is modern tech. We always say modern tech, vintage aesthetic. So the vibe was something I really wanted to put a lot of thought and effort to.
Photos on the site look great.
Thank you so much. Yeah, with weddings and corporate events and stuff like that, especially here in Southern California, everybody wants that Southern California touch. So it's not only a way for people to take photos and have a keepsake to leave with, they also, get a piece of decor. It's almost a little mini set, if you will, at events for people to walk up and see. So it's cool too. When you roll up in a Volkswagen bus, no one's ever mad that you're there. Everyone's always happy to see you.
That's great. I'm sure 2020 was probably an odd year for taking photos of gatherings, but
definitely
also a great year for all of us wanting television. So hopefully you're busy on one side of the coin or the other.
Yes. I'm very grateful that animation and voiceover has continued to thrive despite all the craziness of 2020.
Of all the various roles that you've done in looking through your bio, the one that I'm definitely going to know you for is Prince Lee Char from
Awesome.
from Clone Wars. And can you, out of the different cartoons you've done, have you had a favorite moment in the booth where you went, was it developing Marco for Star versus the Forces of Evil, or is it getting to reinterpret an anime, or have you had a favorite character you've gotten to do?
Yeah, I mean, Marco is going to be a tough one to top because it was such a cool experience being on a show for that many seasons. Star was on for 4 seasons. They had amazing guest stars. I mean, people that I've always looked up to in the industry: Ryder Strong, Eden Shear. Like, these people, went from icons on TV that I've watched, for years to being my peers and friends and just all around fantastic people. So Star versus the Forces of Evil is pretty hard to top just because of the longevity and the amount of time that I got to do it and the amount of amazing experiences I had on that show. However, being a part of the Star Wars world, the Star Wars universe, I should just say the galaxy, because that makes the most sense, is pretty incredible. And I always tell the story about when I first booked that job. It was 3 episodes. It was the first 3 episodes of season 4 of Star Wars: The Clone Wars, and I had no idea what I booked. It was so secretive that I didn't know what the show was. And so I showed up at the studio like, all right, I'm excited, but I don't know what this is. I didn't even know it was multiple episodes at the time. I thought it was just one day, one job. And a production assistant walked out, handed me a piece of paper, and it said, "Dear Mr. McArthur, on behalf of George Lucas, we'd like to welcome you to the Star Wars family." And that was one of those moments where I still have that piece of paper, and I knew at that moment this would be, one of those things that I would be telling friends, family, everybody for the rest of my life. That was such a cool experience.
Oh, that's great. Yeah. That's like getting an Ivy League acceptance letter and you didn't know you applied.
Totally.
It's just
totally.
awesome.
Yes.
And I mean, of course, Marco as a character though has a Funko Pop now. So we'll have to get a Leech. I'm not actually sure if there's a Leechar Funko Pop out there, but they'll have to get on that.
Yes, totally. I agree with that. If you're listening, Pop Funko, get on that.
Now, I've kind of always wondered, different sets in acting, or it can have different tones. It comes down to director, the other folks on set, who sets what vibe. I'm sure energy in a booth can be the same way. Who's working the board, who's recording you, who's directing the session. You've also worked in video games on like Final Fantasy. Is there a difference to you when you're coming in for a television episode versus game? Do the sides look different? Is the whole structure different?
Yeah, the structure for video games is probably the most secretive in voiceover. I mean, most of the time, it's a secret when you get the audition. It's also a secret when you book the job, and it's also a secret when you're in the booth recording the job. You just are in the dark. They're so strict about the NDAs, and stories getting leaked and things like that you just aren't allowed to talk about anything, and you're not even told stuff. So it's a very different experience working on video games. Most of the time as an actor, you're really heavily reliant on the director, the voice director, because the lines in front of you are out of context. You don't know who you're talking to. You don't know where you are. So you really rely heavily on that voice director. So it can be tough. I am very grateful to have had some really amazing experiences. I would probably say actually the toughest booth that I've ever been in was pretty early on. I was working on a show. I probably shouldn't say it, but I'm going to because it's long gone. This is years ago. It was called The LeBrons. LeBron James had an animated series, and it was the show was amazing. The first 2 seasons were really, really incredible. And then, as things progressed and as things can happen in the creative world, there was a difference of opinion on how they wanted the series to go. So essentially I would go in for sessions and there would be 2 voice directors and they would both be wanting 2 different things. And it just like they had tension between them, which bled over into the actors. And, I would say that that's a really rare case. And it was much later in the show's life that happened. I would say for the most part, even on video games where you're getting very little context or really trying to rely heavily on a voice director, for the most part, and this is what I love about the VO industry, is everybody is like so supportive, so loving. They want you, it's collaborative. So they want you to succeed and you need them, they need you. So, it really makes for a very collaborative team effort vibe for most jobs.
Do you feel like the improv skills you talked about earlier, does that connect for you when you're having to kind of on the fly supply your own loose context to these lines?
Oh, definitely. Yeah, definitely. For many reasons. I mean, improv is amazing because the more you practice, the more free you are to feel not self-conscious. And not being aware of yourself and not feeling self-conscious really allows you to explore a character, explore a way you're reading the line, take direction well, work with other people well. So, yeah, doing improv definitely has a huge impact. And then, just talking about like the technical side of actually doing the improv or having those skills to improvise, if you do read a line and maybe you aren't getting as much direction, at least initially from the director, you have the skills to, create in your head and bring to your performance who you're talking to, where you are, sort of the proximity that you're talking to that person in, and all that good stuff. Having the freedom to feel like you can create that is really, really awesome.
I feel like so much of being able to flex creatively is comfort with discomfort, whether that comes to you as embarrassment or self-consciousness, however that works for you. It's in the way of you. I know we've all seen, Jack Black not have the magazine perfect body, but strut and the whole room go, yeah, Jack. And
totally,
and then you think like, well, I'm not in shape. I probably wouldn't peel my shirt off and do that. Like, well, you would if you did it to the 1,000th degree. Everybody would be cool with it. You've got to get out of your own way there. And improv really is a great way to practice comfort with just being creative. Well, like you said, if you don't have any context on that line with improv, you've got the skill to flip it 180 degrees and just, well, all right, here's the polar opposite of that. I'm not married. Yeah. I'm not married to that path. Let's do it, completely differently. See if you like that.
Totally. Yep. Yes, exactly.
Man, thanks for talking to me about it all today. I really appreciate it. It's great chatting with you.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, great chatting with you too.
Have a great rest of your day.
All right, you too. Talk to you later.
Bye. TV Dudes is an independently run podcast out of Austin, Texas. We are exclusively listener supported. If you'd like to help us out, go to patreon.com/TVDudes.
You can also find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at TV Dudes. All the music for our show is done by our friend and original TV Dude, Gregory J. Amani Smith.
To find out more about us, go to thetvdudes.com. I'm Randy Lander.
I'm Les Weiler.
And I'm Kyle Scott.
Thanks for listening.